Hey everyone, my name is Carlos Mendez. I am in CS6460 Educational Technology, of course, and my project is a mobile application for teaching personal finances called Money Smart. And so this is my intermediate milestone number 2. Now, just a little bit of background of the application before I move on to give the demo. So Money Smart is, like I mentioned, it's a mobile iPhone application that's meant to teach users personal finances. And my hope was to do this in a few basic ways. So the first thing is I wanted to explain concepts that a lot of people consider to be difficult, or concepts that people don't really know much about, in an easy manner. Second of all, I wanted to be able to give them recommendations of what tools exactly they should use to meet their purposes. So for example, say that somebody doesn't know what a savings account is, then I wanted to give them in this app, the definition of what a savings account is, why it should be important, what should they do with it, and which ones they should use or which ones they should consider. So let's go straight into the application. So let me go here to Xcode, and then if I run the simulator. All right, so like I mentioned, this is an iPhone application. So everything is written in Swift, and I'm running it natively, so everything is written in Swift. So I'm going to give you a rundown of what I have so far in the application. Oh, there you go. As soon as this finishes loading. All right, so this is the main menu, and I tried to keep it as simple as possible, right? So there's 3 things here. One of my concerns about teaching personal finances is that a lot of people don't really know where to start. So one thing that I want to do is to give them these recommendations in sort of like a story way. So even if you don't know anything about personal finances, if you just want to start learning whatever concept I think is important, then they could just go here and then start right away. But before we go there are 6 main topics covered by the application. These are debt, banking, investments, retirement, credit, and passive income. And finally, another feature, which is one that I forgot to mention earlier. So one of the things that I wanted with this application is to be able to have it in 2 languages, in English and Spanish, because as a native Latin American, I can tell you that it's not as easy to find a tool that explains these things in an easy manner in Spanish. So I thought that having this application also available in Spanish would be pretty cool and pretty useful for anybody else like me that's interested in learning about personal finances, but didn't have the tools to do so when I was little, and I didn't know English back then. So now to jump straight into the application, right? So if you start, I figured I used a few different books that I read about personal finances as a guide. The one that I'm basing myself off the most is one called Get a Financial Life, and then in that book it covers quite a few topics, but I think that the 6 that I showed earlier are the most important ones. So if you just jump into the application, right, you can just scroll down, and then it's going to give you information about all these different important subtopics. And I didn't try to go into too much detail into anything, because I didn't want to confuse the reader. But basically, you give like a quick introduction of what debt is. You talk about refinancing any debt that you have, credit cards, student loans, and then all the way at the end, once you're done, you have 2 options. You can either look at the tools that I'm recommending to work with these things, or you could just go into the next topic. So let's go straight to the next topic, which in this case is banking. Now, so same idea, right? You go into the topic, it gives you introduction, it talks to you about all these different things, right? ATMs, what internet-only banks are, savings accounts, and why they're important, blah, blah, blah. Now, at the end, say that you want to go into the tools. So for this specific banking section, I'm recommending 2 main tools. So I'm recommending this checking account and this savings account. And here I describe why I am recommending it. For example, this checking account is the one that I'm actually using. It doesn't charge you anything per month. It charges, it pays you back any ATM fees that you have for any ATM in the world, and it actually pays you a bit of interest on your money in your checking account. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then here the savings account, with Ally Bank. So I also use this account, and I like it because basically it pays a very high APY, like a very high annual interest. And then yeah, the customer service was really good. So I put in the link so they can go straight into these tools that I'm recommending them to use. So if they read about banking and they like this and they like this bank, they could just go straight into this website, and I'm into their website, and then just open the account. And then of course same thing with Schwab. Now the final topic, because so for this intermediate milestone, I basically what I did mostly is that I worked with the whole sort of like the infrastructure of the project. So if you see here I have like everything interconnected, but I haven't finished putting the content for all topics. So for this intermediate milestone, I just put in the topics of debt, banking, and investments, and this includes the basic information alongside the tools that I'm recommending them to use. The language feature, I have it set in place. So if I switch over to Spanish, I can go over to topics, and then some of the things, I always started translating some of the things, but I haven't done that yet. That's going to be like the final phase of the project. But yeah, I have this in place in a way that once I'm done with everything else, it's just a matter of just me translating everything personally. And then, all these placeholders are going to change over to their Spanish equivalents. But switching back to English, so like I mentioned, I'm covering debt, covering banking and investments. So retirement credit and passive income, they're still empty. So that's going to be my next step in the project. But yeah, and then if I go into any of these things, I read about investment, I go all the way to the end. So for example, for investments, I talk about a lot of things, right? I talk about mutual funds, I talk about ETFs. Oh, snap, sorry. I talk about ETFs. And then I even give like a recommended portfolio allocation, and then I recommended it based on David Swenson's portfolio, which historically has proven to do very well annually, approximately 16% annually over the past decade. So, and then in the recommended tools, Betterment, which is the easiest way I think I've ever seen of investing money. All you do is give deposit money in the application, and then just choose like your risk tolerance, and it'll do it for you. Vanguard, which I use, and then Robinhood in case you want to invest in single stocks. So this is all I've completed for this intermediate milestone. So by the end of the semester, so over the next few weeks, my objectives are to finish these 3 topics, so retirement, credit, and passive income. And then once I'm done with those, make the translations for all of the text that's shown in the application, and basically just enable the Spanish feature everywhere. And then with that completed, my hope is that a tool like this would be very helpful, not just for anyone, but also specifically for Latin Americans that don't really know English, to be able to go in and learn about personal finances and what things they should be working on in case that they haven't started those yet. So yeah, that's it for me on this intermediate milestone. Thank you very much, and please feel free to send me any constructive feedback on this. So thanks.